Please bring Jim Barker's handsome face on the screen as I read the very short paragraph from the Wire story. Players had to be called back to the field Thursday in Ottawa during overtime in the game between the Red Blacks and Rough Riders. Sask had taken a 22-19 lead in OT, appeared to hold off Ottawa's last attempt at scoring. However, the game was resumed after it was announced the Riders had been called for roughing the passer on the play after review. Game ended in a 22-22 tie. The viewers want to know, Coach Barker, if you've calmed down yet from your post-game assessment.
Well, obviously, I was at the end of the game. It was kind of the culmination. They have to understand, I was on the executive committee, 10 years ago when the whole challenge idea and, being able to challenge officials' calls that go to. And at that time, I thought, you know what? You can slow it down and you can call pass interference anytime you want. What's next? Holding. And, they haven't gone to that point yet. But, again, in that game, in the overtime period, when, the Corey Mace challenged it was in overtime because I remember asking David Sanchez if they're able to get their challenge back if it's overtime or whatever. So it was in the first overtime, and Corey had every right to challenge that. Now, did I agree with the decision? No. I didn't agree with the decision. I thought that it was a simultaneous, there's a referee standing right there. But the way the game ended, that one kind of put me over the edge because back 10, 12 years, I said, we're going to end up with guys in a little box deciding the outcome of games. And, I was scoffed at. And ultimately last night, that's exactly what happened. And you had a referee who does nothing but watch the quarterback. And in his mind, unless that referee is totally incompetent, he's watching the quarterback the whole way. Now, I get that there's going to be an occasional brush on a helmet that maybe they're going to come down and that because they can come down and chat and out of the command center and say, well, that's roughing the passer because that maybe the guy didn't see. But this was right in front of the head referee. He got chopped. The running back came up, chopped in the A-gap, chopped the blitzing linebacker, who then kind of lunged forward, obviously, which he's going to, into his shins. And it actually didn't even knock him over. He kind of knocked him back, and then he fumbled. And obviously, they chose to come down. The game is over. There's elation everywhere. There's deflation everywhere. It was a typical CFL game. And then all of a sudden, they're clearing the field and bringing the quarterback who's already gone into the locker room and saying, no, you got more plays because they've decided that there was a penalty on that play. I think that's wrong. Whether it's, again, they talk about it's about getting it right. Well, last week we had a Hamilton-Montreal game where we had an obvious, blatant blowing of a call. A guy fumbled. The first Montreal defender to go for it, it squirted out of his arms into another one. So they used the rule that says, well, it has to be immediately recovered. Well, there was nobody around but Montreal guys, yet they didn't give Montreal the ball. So your whole argument of it's about getting it right got washed out in that. And now last night, again, did I agree with the when Corey Mace challenged? I didn't agree with what the command center, but I do agree that Corey should have challenged it. He had nothing to lose challenging it, and they got the call. That's the stuff that gets debated at the water cooler. What happened after that with the whole calling it from nowhere with a referee standing right there doing nothing but looking at the quarterback, and then them coming out of wherever it is they are and making their call? To me, it's just a bad look on the league.
And I know it's hard for you to say that because I know how much you love the league, how much a staunch defender you are, and part of its history and all the rest. Howard writes in, he says, I turned off the game thinking the Riders had won. Just now learning it was a tie? Unreal. Yes, there's that. And by the way, Wayne in Victoria, BC, it was in overtime. You're arguing me that it wasn't, and you're wrong. It's people like you that drive me crazy, have driven me crazy. It's called gaslighting. It was in overtime. Go look it up. How big of a problem is this, Jim, for the CFL?
You know, I made a suggestion, that they put microphones in the control center. We show that view of the control center and all their backs. Why not put microphones in there and hear the reasoning behind a decision being made? Is it because they can't be afraid of what's being said? They got to be talking about the call, and people are going to agree. Some are not going to agree. Like on the pass interference, they're going to say, he's there, and he pushed his shoulder down before the ball got there, so we have to call that. For fans to hear that, there's nothing wrong with that. Okay? To hear what happened on this one, I had talked to Darren Hackwood about a call that happened 3 weeks ago about where a referee basically called up asking for help on it was an incomplete pass that was called a fumble, but it was really an incomplete pass. There was no challenge or anything, but they just turned it over. And I said, can they just come down and turn it over? And he said, if it's asked for by the head of ref. So again, I just think it's a bad look on the league. I mean, to have flashed final across the board and then have them come back. I mean, I'm sure that's when you have betting happening on a league and things like that. It's just not a good look. And again, if they were going to look at it because they called it a fumble, if that was why, then they should have called right down and said, hold the game. And the referee should have said, this play's under review, kept everybody off the field. They didn't do that. So there was a lack of and you're right, Rod, this kills me. This really kills me because I hate for our league to look second class. I really do. I hate for this kind of thing to happen. And it happened last night, and yeah, I was angry about it.
Yeah, I get it. I will say this. You defend the CFL more than I do, but I could see this happening in other leagues because it is human error. Trust me, when we deal with humans, they're not perfect. Breaking news. Can we change the subject?
Sure. I said my piece.
How big of a... Yeah, thank you. Very well. Carlos in Indianapolis says, preach it, coach. Rob Scott in Vancouver says, I thought Jimbo was going to storm the field. I said we're changing the subject. How big of a deal is it that Nick Fatty Arbuckle will start for the Argos tonight at home against Calgary?
Again, I think that it's pretty much come to I think Ryan Dinwiddie's seen he's not going to be able to win a Grey Cup with Cameron Dukes as his quarterback. Now, when Chad Kelly comes back, you hope he stays healthy, but he's about winning a Grey Cup. And Cameron Dukes just isn't seeing the field, kind of like Crum last night. When Crum's fine when he takes off running, but what's happened to Dukes is they've defensed that. They've taken away his big-time runs and forced him to see the field and anticipate throws and make those, and he hasn't shown he's able to do that. Nick Arbuckle can do that. Now, whether Nick Arbuckle, can for a sustained period of time, be able to do that, that's what he's had a problem with. So it's not shocking to me at all. But again, it's one of those things that I think that the Argos are at a point, honestly, and again, the league again, and they play their 9th game. The league has made no comment about Chad Kelly. There's no idea about what's happening with that. And again, we're in a league that, and I hate to say gambling should be an important part, but if we're a professional football league, how can the 9th game comes up and there's no word about anything? And when will there be a word as to whether they're going to get last year's MVP back or not? So again, for Ryan Dinwiddie, I think he cares about one thing. That's winning the game tonight and who gives him the best chance. And I think that he believes Nick Arbuckle gives him the best chance, which I think translate into it gives him the best chance to win a Grey Cup with him should Chad Kelly there be some kind of, where the commissioner just decides he's not playing anymore. Or who knows what's going to happen. I mean, it's like I say, it's like a control center call. It's like you have no idea because there's no communication. There's no communication about what's happening. The media can't find out what's happening. You can't find out.
I get it. We had to talk about the best CFL commissioners here yesterday, and the names Jake Goddard came up and Mark Cohan, and we just don't hear Randy Ambrosie's name in that discussion. I like Randy, but it's hard to defend where this league is at right now. Now, total other topic. Fans have said with Nathan Rourke signing in Atlanta, they're like, can you focus on the players that are in the CFL? So we've done that. I get it. They don't want him. He's not coming back, so let's talk about the league. So we have. But the Falcons are in Miami tonight, preseason opener for both. I don't expect Nathan Rourke is going to see the field. I had a U.S. football guy say, I asked him, point out, is there a Canadian bias against Nathan Rourke in the NFL? And he said, yes, there is. He's not getting a legitimate shot because he's Canadian. Do you go along with that or not?
I think that's a bunch of garbage. I know a lot of those guys. I was an American coach for years. A lot of the guys coaching down there, they want one thing, that's to win. And that guy can be from Mars. It doesn't matter where he's from. If he's good enough to win games, he's going to be the quarterback. People who say that are just ignorant. I think they're ignorant. And again, I don't believe. Now, has he gotten the right opportunity? Has he made the right decisions on leaving places and things? That's to be answered. But the thought that anybody would say I'm not playing him because he's Canadian to me it's ignorant and has no concept. They've never coached. Coaches are about one thing: winning games. It's like Jarius Jackson in Edmonton with Trey Ford. When his first game, when he started McLeod Bethel Thompson, he didn't say, well, Trey Ford's Canadian and I'm American, and I think an American has to be a quarterback because I was an American quarterback, and we may not have as good a chance to win, but I'm going to play McLeod. No. He said, I think McLeod gives us the best chance to win, and that's why he played. Trey Ford now got its chance, wins a game, and now I guarantee you Jarius Jackson is saying, I had the best chance to win games with Trey Ford, and he's going to play. So again, those things were not difficult to understand. Coaches are about winning games, period. You don't win, you get fired. And that's the way it is. And if I would rather get fired with a quarterback, keep my job with a quarterback from Mars than get fired with a quarterback from, the United States. So I think that's the most ludicrous thing I've ever heard. Sorry,
fun for me to debate. It was a coach, by the way. If you want, I can tell you later who it was. But Graham in Calgary writes that he says, to be fair, I feel like there is a Canadian bias in the CFL. Look how long it took for Trey Ford to get the start. It is what it is. Sunday, God bless the CFL. BC's at Edmonton, and the Elkamos are favored because Jake Dolegala is starting for BC. Unbelievable. What's your read on this game?
Again, I think Trey Ford, like we talked about on the show, was going to give that team a lift, and he did. He gave them a lift, where firing Chris Jones did not give them a lift at all. But everybody played at a higher level. When you have that guy and he's back there making plays, your entire team is better. And the BC Lions are in tough in this one, I think, because Jake Dolegala has proven zero. Jordan Maximic has not proven that he can win with a Jake Dolegala type of player. You got to remember, he's dealt with two quarterbacks. Jordan's done a great job. But he had Nathan Rourke and he had Vernon Adams. And again, now he's got a completely different type of drop back, sit in the pocket. The defense is going to know where he is. He's not going to move out. He's not going to move around the way those other guys do. It's going to be a completely new thing. I think it's a tough situation for BC, and I think the Elks are going to beat them in Edmonton, and that whole West is going to turn into a schmozzle.
Well, the 1 point that the Riders got last night will either be a great thing or a bad thing for them. In the end, that could be what gets them in. So they're sitting there complaining at the command center, and I'm like, no. you got a point that you probably shouldn't have had because of that pass interference gift you got on the challenge. So, Jim,
Well, they should have
enjoy your day.
They should have got 2 though. They should have got 2 because once that call was made and because Corey had a right to do it. If this was a challenge play, it would be totally different. But to have it just come out of, from the heavens of the command center, that to me I just think is, I don't know.
I'm trying to be positive.
I'm not even at the studio yet, and I'm already all fired up, ready to go.
Do you think you guys will still be talking about it again or move on?
It won't shock me. I know our producer's different. Jamie Rydell almost lost it last night. He was our producer. Tonight, Troy's our producer. So maybe it won't be Jamie, he wanted to talk about nothing else after the game and on the Sports Center hit because he thought it was just what it was. So again, I think it's something that's going to be discussed throughout the league, and that's what makes our league great, Rod.
Absolutely. And you're doing a great job. Keep it up, Jim. Thanks for the time.
Thanks, Rod.